Welcome. I'm Lauren. This is my co host, Brian, and we are going to talk to you today about drip campaigns. Woo! So, there's actually a funny story about the reason we're even talking about drip campaigns. Right, Brian? Do you want to tell them how we had a totally different topic for July, but then we were like, oh my God, we have to talk about drip campaigns. And it's not because we were sitting by the pool and getting drips from kids splashing us.
Although that would have been great.
Yeah.
So the reason we're talking about drip campaigns is because we had our own little internal confusion. We at LPC we're actually working on a new email strategy, and part of that is that we wanted to create an automated series of emails. And initially, we were referring to it as a nurture campaign because which it's a term that sounds right, like we're going to nurture our audience, get them ready to best understand our topics and utilize our services if there's a fit. So we're like, all right, awesome, nurture campaign. And then as it turns out, totally wrong vocabulary. We were not building a nurture campaign at all. We were actually building a drip campaign, which is a different
Woo!
thing.
And now we're telling you this story because if you do not know the difference or you've been calling it something else, don't fret. A lot of the resources we found when we were preparing for our blog and this show said that a lot of marketers interchange the terms drip and nurture, or a lot of folks just call a nurture campaign a drip campaign, or kind of like we were calling it a nurture campaign. Um, a lot of times when we are writing email campaigns, we are taking direction from the client and they're saying, like, here's what I want to do. And they may not know the right term and they don't really care the right term. They just tell us how they want to execute it. So we just write and didn't even realize that there is actually a specific term to mean drip campaign, specific function of a drip campaign and a different function of nurture campaigns. So we wanted to come on and tell you all about what those differences are, why we selected a drip campaign as opposed to a nurture campaign, and real life examples of how you can use a drip campaign, even if you think email marketing is not for you, even if you don't have a service just yet, or, we work with a lot of early stage biotechs that, are still in the clinic or the lab and are probably thinking, like, what would I have to tell my story about? But before we get into the examples, Brian, tell us, what is exactly a drip campaign and what is a nurture campaign and what is their
Oh,
difference? So hit
okay, yeah, let's get into it. So here's why there is some confusion about the difference between the two. And the reason there's confusion is because they're both automated series of emails that are used to nurture your audience. And there's that word nurture again. Now, when we say they're automated, that means they are being triggered by something as opposed to you or me manually sending every email. So, in the case of, let's say, a welcome series for new subscribers for your email list, right? Every time somebody new subscribes to your email list, let's say you have hundreds of subscribers a day or thousands, in a week. You don't want to be sending a series of emails to every single individual person, being like, "Hey, welcome to our business and our email list and all that." Like that's a lot. That's like suddenly becomes hundreds and thousands of emails a week that you don't want to be sending manually. So this is why you can start automating your email welcome series or other series of emails that you're sending, which can scale up as your business grows. So there's some confusion because the purpose of both drip and nurture campaigns are to do this. But the big difference between the two is how the emails actually get triggered automatically. So in a drip campaign, what you're doing is you're sending emails based on a certain amount of time elapsed. So for example, if you're sending a series of 5 emails, you may set it up so that you send one email per week, and that automatically happens over 5 weeks. So that's the trigger. The trigger is the amount of time. 1 week goes by, you send an email. Another week goes by, you automatically send another email, so on and so on. A nurture campaign, on the other hand, is not triggered by time. It's triggered by your user actually taking some kind of action. So, for example, you may send one email and then your user does nothing and you send nothing else, but maybe they open the email and click on a particular link, and that link that they click on will trigger the campaign to send them a follow-up email. So the trigger was actually the user taking an action to click on a link, not just because a certain amount of time goes by. Lauren, is that making sense to you the way I'm describing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of frame it, the reason it's called a drip campaign is because you're kind of dripping the emails over a certain period of time.
That's right.
And you might be thinking, okay, well, where does like newsletters or like press releases or something fit into this? Those are not automated campaigns. Those are monthly or regularly or, time-based email blasts. There's a very different concept and kind of purpose. An email blast is to just create awareness or visibility around you, your business, or like a news alert. But these campaigns, the difference is it is much more targeted. A lot of times these automated campaigns allow the marketer or the client to put you into certain buckets so they can really tailor your experience. And if you've been here long enough, you know that personalization is a huge key in marketing today. We're really trying to hit people with the content they want at the right time. So drip and nurture campaigns serve more so nurture campaigns really serve the purpose of learning more about you, whereas drip campaigns really serve the purpose of just engaging you. And I think that's kind of ultimately the difference is, kind of not only the time and the trigger, but, kind of the end result. The end result is always definitely to engage you and get to know you better. But nurture campaigns really focus on that kind of getting to know you and kind of bucketing you into certain categories, right? So,
Yeah. And I think that with a drip campaign, one of the things you're also trying to do is, let's say you have a new subscriber, they just got fresh on your list. Now you want to try and start moving them down your funnel a little bit to get them a little bit closer to, a lead stage or buying stage. Drip campaigns are a great way to send the user the resources, the information, the assets they need from your business to turn from somebody who's maybe just a casual reader of, and consumer of your information, to somebody who may be actually ready to consider or make a purchase.
yeah, and I think the interesting thing there is, the end goal could certainly be to make a purchase or to work with you, but it also could just simply be to be a more engaged user,
Mm-hmm.
to be a referral partner. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I think a drip campaign is a great tool for really kind of any business that is trying to gain visibility, which is, I would say, 99.9% of businesses. And if there's one that's not trying to gain visibility, tell me in the comments because I wouldn't know what that is. But I think that's why we really wanted to focus on a drip campaign for ourselves to, the truth is, guys, we have a newsletter every month, and I think we do a great job of rocking the newsletter, but we really didn't have a follow-up or kind of a preamble to the newsletter. We really just, when you signed up for the newsletter, you got our newsletter. And that's great. And, I feel like we've been slowly growing the newsletter, but really we were kind of missing that connection between you met Lauren somewhere and you signed up for her newsletter and you're getting her company's email. There really needs to be kind of the next step There's, we need to welcome you and then keep that kind of conversation going. So if you're sitting here thinking like, oh shoot, I don't have a drip campaign, like you're not alone. We're marketers and we didn't even do it. I mean, Brian, does your business have a welcome campaign or a drip campaign right now?
I'm starting to build it now because you inspired me.
Exactly. So it's, it doesn't mean, you're behind the eight ball or anything. It's a great tool to add in when you feel that, you have the time and resources, or you want to bring on someone like us to help you with it. So drip campaigns are just a great way to kind of build that awareness. And that's why we wanted to start there, because even though we do have a lot of resources and we do want to kind of start bucketing our subscribers, we felt that the best way to really set the stage was this very simple welcome to LPC's newsletter. It's only three emails long. It could be much longer if we wanted, but we really wanted to start simple. Um, a welcome email is probably the most preeminent example of a drip campaign. Other examples could be if you had an anniversary date. I'm sure you've all gotten emails from stores or businesses that say, we're celebrating 1 year together as a client or whatnot. And then maybe from there you'll get a couple of other like, hey Lauren, like you didn't take advantage of your 25% off anniversary discount. Are you going to use it? And then maybe one more that's like, all right, Lauren, your anniversary discount is going by the wayside. That is a drip campaign because it's not targeted by anything other than your anniversary date. The same thing could be for your birthday. What else, Brian? What are some other examples of drip campaigns?
So another great one that I've come across is the post-event drip campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you were at a conference or you had an event and there were people there that are new to your business, new subscribers. They don't know you very well, but they were interested enough to get on your list. Well, now having a drip campaign that kind of transitions these people from people who just kind of met you at a conference to people who are now engaging with your business on a more intimate level, can be a really effective tool post event or post conference.
And that's why we say that even companies that are watching this and thinking, like, what would I have in my email, in my kind of tool belt to even talk about with people. I think people, when they hear like email campaign, they think you have to have a lot of like lead magnets or like downloadable resources for people. You have to have kind of a service or an offering that you're trying to promote. And really, no, not at all. It's just about engaging and staying in touch with these people,
Mhm.
nurturing. So if you are, an early stage biotech company that is trying to get more funding or, just move your product along, creating a drip campaign can be a great way to just keep your company at the top of mind of investors. It's a great way to keep your audience informed about how things are going. And again, it doesn't even necessarily have to be super timely. You could share a 3-sequence email, and 1, 2, and 3 really just focus on like, how you got to where you are, a little bit more about the product, and then a little bit more about your timeline. And you could keep that going for about a year or 6 months probably, and that would still be adequate. And even simple, like updating these things is really not hard. Just that concept of, number one, welcome to our company. Number two, here's a little background on us. Number three, here's what we're doing. You could update that kind of, here's what we're doing in real time. And that leads us kind of to the next point, like, how does this all work? Because you kind of hear automation and you feel a little nervous, but it's really not that hard. So Brian, tell us a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, it's really very easy to set up in, there are basically a bunch of different email tools that you could be using. Examples of those include things, and these are not sponsors of our LinkedIn Live, but MailChimp, HubSpot, ConvertKit. Now, there are people who kind of set these types of systems up in something like, Gmail. That can be a little bit trickier to scale. So sometimes it makes sense to look at one of these more automated tools, but there are people who do it through something like Google. What does it entail? Well, I'm sorry, Lauren, didn't mean to cut you off
Oh,
there.
no, I mean, I actually just right now, while we're talking, thought of a perfect example of where it's good for Google. So as some of you guys probably know, I have an Airbnb, and we sent a drip campaign to our renters. We do a welcome, and then we do a check-in and a thank you. That is a drip campaign. It is all based on time, and I do it in Google because we do not have a need to purchase an automated email system for our rentals. We just don't do enough business for that to warrant purchasing or taking the time. So right now, the lovely Amanda just sets everything up in Google, and honestly, it's perfect. So I just wanted to give an example of when that would be a good fit. Another example, my trainer, the lovely Nicole, set one up in her Gmail as she was just kind of testing it out. I think right now, she just had a handful of people on a list that she was trying to connect with and set it up in Google. And by setting it up in Google, just so you know what we mean, is that you can schedule the emails through the scheduling functionality in Google or Outlook or whatever you have. All the emails have that kind of scheduling functionality now. So it's the reason that it's not ideal if we had a larger rental property management system, or if Nicole was messaging hundreds of people, is you aren't tracking anything. So that was the preface that I wanted to give you, Brian, before you dive into how it all works.
Yeah, no, thank you for adding that in, that detail in about what the strengths of that can be and what the disadvantages can be. So when you have one of these systems set up, what you basically do is create an automated workflow based on a series of emails that you create. So you manually create your emails, or you can use a template to create multiple emails, just like you would create a newsletter, or something like that. But instead of sending these newsletters out manually at a scheduled time where you blast your whole list, what you're going to do is you're going to build a simple automated workflow that basically you connect to a trigger in your platform. So the trigger might be, send this email as soon as somebody subscribes. And then you connect it to email one. So trigger one, email one, somebody subscribes. Then you can set another trigger, send email to 1 week later, or 3 days later, or 3 weeks later. Doesn't matter. You pick the time. And then you connect that to, let's say, email number two that you created. And then you can repeat that as many times as you need to for as many emails and as many triggers as you want. But again, the triggers are always going to be time based. So immediately upon sign up, 1 day later, 3 days later, 1 week later, 1 month
Exactly.
later. That's how, and it's really simple. You'll see it like generally mapped out like a little map that you have email one, email two,
Yeah.
trigger two, and basically you can then base it on a certain, you can attach it to a certain form if you want. So,
Mhm.
when people subscribe on this form or take an action on this call to action, that's when it triggers the first one.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're thinking, oh my God, this sounds so complicated, honestly, most of these programs make it so easy and map it
So
out for you. But that's something also a company like we could do, or,
mhm.
honestly, if you have all the stuff written and you just need somebody to help you map it out, you could even just, hire a virtual assistant. So it sounds complicated to the novice, but it's really not. Um, and so I'd love to end with kind of this final note of why we think that it is, time saving, lead qualifying, and my favorite thing, a powerful tool for repurposing. You guys know
Mm.
how much I love repurposing. I think that for me is the time saving component because everything in your drip sequence should be something that you already have. And that's truly why I love helping folks create drip and nurture campaigns because a lot of times I'm just scouring through their website and their resources and their social media and using things that they already have to turn it into a beautifully mapped out sequence. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't have anything to share, you do, even if you like I said, the example I gave of like an early stage company, you have a PowerPoint that has your main timelines and milestones and story. We can use all of that in a drip campaign. um Brian, how would this be lead qualifying for you in your mind?
Yeah, well, I think you really need to pay attention to your metrics in the campaign, right? So this strategy is not going to necessarily work as well for everyone. There may be people who don't open the emails. There may be people who open the emails and click through or don't click through. Well, now, if you see somebody's interacting with every single email in your drip campaign, this is somebody who's really excited about your content, somebody who's really interested in what you're talking
Yeah.
about, and that jumps out at me as somebody who might be a lead, right? Somebody who maybe now it's worth getting in touch with them, sending an email as being like, hey, I'm Lauren. I saw you were new on the list. I wanted to just reach out and see if there's anything I could help you with or talk about. So I think that is the way you qualify your leads based on the drip campaign. You see how people are actually interacting with the drip.
Yeah, and all of those things really equal to time saving because, the example I gave is content repurposing. You're saving time because you're not writing a new email every time. You are saving time with your leads because you are seeing somebody interact with your content in live time, and your email platform is giving you that information. You don't have to spend the time going through calls, scouring through people's social media, or there's a million ways that you could do lead qualifying. This is an automated way that you don't have to do that back work. It tells you.
Mhm.
And just in general, it's a much easier way to build relationships with your audience versus reaching out every few months or whatnot. It's just an easy, simple way, and that's why we wanted to start with ourselves with the drip campaign and by sharing it with you, because I think a lot of people don't realize the power in this. um, so if you are, considering a drip campaign, or, trying to figure out more ways to nurture your audience, and you don't want to go through the whole nurture campaign process, take a step back, think about a drip campaign. It's very low cost, and it's, but high ROI. And even for to hire someone like us to write it for you, it's one of our lowest value offerings, and that's because you already have all the stuff. We're just helping you put it together. A nurture campaign is a lot more complicated, but it's just such a nice low hanging fruit. But anything else, Brian, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, two things. The first is I heard something really smart on a politics podcast the other day, which has nothing to do with politics, but everything to do with marketing, which is that in the age of AI slop, which is all the AI content that you're going to be seeing very soon everywhere that is faceless and nameless and of dubious quality and accuracy. Your key differentiator is building that relationship with your audience. And the drip campaign is just one tool in your arsenal that you can use to build that relationship between your business, yourself, and your audience. So that was
I
point
love
number
that.
one. Point number two is a question. Lauren, if somebody wants to work with you on building a drip campaign, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. See, guys, this is why drip campaigns weren't even in my repertoire before Brian started helping me with my own marketing. Because when you're a marketer, it's like the shoemaker's children. Have no shoes, you have minimal marketing. So work with me. Go to my website, laurenperna.com. You'll see kind of all the offerings we offer and a little bit more about us and all the people that are part of the LPC team. And you can also just shoot me an email, lauren@laurenperna.com, or DM us on here. And finally, we're going to leave the last call to action to you guys. Tell us in the comments, would you consider a drip campaign? How would you use it? What would you share? Because I think it is really kind of that hidden tool that we can use. And like I said, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, and if you already have one, let us know how it's going. Let it, or and why you're using it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.